I got like 9 bags of leaves, and then I brought them here. I'm probably the only person raking leaves from a neighborhood and bringing it to the wilderness like this where there's already so many leaves. Now here's an interesting concept that I just thought about the other day. You see all these trees? All the leaves are gone. But over here, this is a tree limb that broke and the leaves died, right? So the rest of the tree, all the leaves are gone. But the dead limb, the leaves are still there. So the idea occurred to me that the leaves don't fall because they die. The leaves fall because the tree released them. So it feeds itself. So the idea of the food forest is you treat the orchard like a forest. So you have your biggest trees, your apple trees, your pear trees, and then next, like a canopy, and then next you have, say, fig trees, which are not quite as big, blueberry bushes, and then you have a ground cover like strawberries. You can also throw some wildflowers in there to get the bees coming, butterflies, pollinators, or put some herbs, some thyme, and some stuff like that to help fill out the whole forest. And then in the fall and winter, when their leaves fall, they are feeding themselves. And then as you can prune the trees, and then the fruit from the tree could even fall into the ground. Biblically, they talk about in the Old Testament like not eating the fruit from your tree for several years. I don't have that time, but I just always thought, well, maybe there's something to that. My dad has a pear tree at his house. That pear tree's been there forever. It looks dead. It looks like it's falling apart. It looks like it's gonna die any day. But every year it produces tons of pears, like so many pears that the tree can't even handle all the pears, and the limbs break. And my dad doesn't care about the pears. So I think the reason that pear tree keeps going is because every year it just drops all those pears, and the pears die and rot, and they go into the ground, and the pear tree just keeps feeding itself. So I wonder if biblically that's the point, is that in those early years of the tree, you don't want to eat the fruit, you want to let the fruit feed the tree so that it can grow strong. I don't know, but I like the idea. I like the idea that it's like this whole thing is nature taking care of itself. And if we just kind of get out of the way and let things feed each other, then we won't need all these fertilizers. That's my thoughts. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
I used to sell pesticides for a living. I don't know if you can tell that by looking at me, but I did that for a long time. I sold pesticides to Lowe's and Home Depot. Did that for a long time, and people would come in there and they would ask weird questions. They'd be like, I'm looking for something organic. I'd like to kill the insects but not harm the environment. And I'm like, well, how about a shoe? Because I'm selling pesticides here, and that stuff is poison, all right?
I mean, I sold fertilizer and pesticides for years, and I used to pitch it to people all the time. And I didn't even know what I was talking about. I'm just reading the back of the bags. But, what I've read now is it's like with fertilizer, if you put nitrogen in the ground, then what you've done is you've killed all the microorganisms in your soil. So the soil is now not good for growing. You have to keep putting the nitrogen in there. But soil, like they talk about our stomachs and our gut biome, it's like things are alive in there. There's microorganisms in our guts and in the soil, and they feed things. And then insects, it's like we put all these pesticides down to kill insects, but there are ways that you make your plants so healthy that the insects, apparently like insects are attracted to trees and things that are weak or dying. I don't know if this is true, but this is what I've read. And so, things are so healthy that the insects don't attack it. They don't eat it. But you also, you attract, say, you put a bat house up. So then you have bats to eat some insects. Or you bring in birds to eat the insects. And All these things take care of themselves. Hopefully one day I get some chickens. Maybe some possums are running around out here, and they all eat insects. So it's an amazing ecosystem where everything's kind of taking care of each other. Like, you need the insects so that the animals have something to eat. And it all just takes care of itself. I think it's beautiful, and I think that's what I'm trying to create out here. So my kids can, run through the orchards and eat blueberries off the bushes and just things like that. I mean, my daughter, I was growing tomatoes this year. I hated tomatoes when I was a kid. But all this summer, she would go and just grab tomatoes off the bush and just eat them like it was fruit. I mean, I guess it is fruit, but I never thought of a tomato that way as a kid. Homegrown tomatoes, delicious. Guy Clark has a song about it, homegrown tomatoes. It's great stuff. We're having a good time. Yeah, I'm pumped about this. I've not been so pumped about a project, but these swales. So the idea with the swale is that it goes down and then you build a little ditch and then a ridge so that when the water comes down, the ridge traps it and then it soaks into the clay. And then on either side, you can plant, on either side of the ditch or swale, you can plant trees. And so as that water soaks in, the roots of the tree can soak it up. So we're gonna build 2 swales and plant some trees.